The sponsor of my stream and podcast is DistroKid. If you want 10% off on your first subscription with DistroKid, release your music to the world on every major music platform. Make sure to go to my website, andrewvanzark.com, and click on the discount link under the tab of DistroKid. The information on this podcast is my opinion and some internet research.
Star Wars, the galaxy's most popular movie, is great family entertainment.
Huh? Aren't we listening to Galactic ChatWave Radio? What is this whistling? I'm confused.
Hosted by Andrew Van Zark. Now you're listening with power.
Thank you. Now we can start listening to the show. I was so confused.
May the Force be with you.
Alrighty. Hello. Welcome to Galactic Radio. I'm Andrew Van Zark, and this is your safe space to discuss Star Wars, music, and other geeky topics. So today's show is going to be dedicated to, dark times of Star Wars. Remember, this is your safe space to discuss Star Wars, music, and other geeky topics, and eventually we'll add in some of that awesome Star Trek, I've been trying to get in there since the pandemic to put it on the show and get myself flowing. At first I was going to try and move on with Star Wars to Star Trek, but then things went a little hectic, and I went back to Star Wars as I belong in there. I like Star Trek, specifically Deep Space Nine, but we can move on to different areas at that point in time. So the thing is that today's episode is dedicated to Tales of the Empire. And what does Tales of the Empire portray? What do we get from this? Well, what we get from Tales of the Empire is none other than the dark times of Star Wars. And we can't simply just attribute it to just because the Empire took over, the Jedis got destroyed and all that. We can't just attribute it to that. We can also attribute it to the point that most Jedis, in a way, they were scared. They were not willing to move on with what we had. They were scared to continue going further into all the stuff. Most Jedis at that point in time were hidden. They were scared that the Empire would destroy them. They were scared that once they would find them out, they would try to eradicate anyone similar, Force-sensitive people. If you see Barriss Offee's at the end of Tales of the Jedi, she says, hey, it could be that the offspring of Barriss Offee is Force-sensitive, and that could be awesome. But it's become, at this point in time, a burden, a curse. Because everyone that has Force sensitivity by that point in time, they were just gonna be eradicated if they find out. That's why we see all these Jedis hiding. We saw with Obi-Wan Kenobi that he turned himself into a average Joe, cutting meat, and working as a regular man, and changed his name to Ben. And from there we ended up having a different style of Obi-Wan, a more calm and collected version, instead of this really extremely protective, overly protective character. And specifically when we see him as a general in the times of the Clone Wars, that's when he actually had all these time to protect people, and he even fell in love, So the Jedis at this point in time are scared. They're hiding. They don't want to be seen by anyone. In the dark times, we can clearly see how things went down. And we can see that in Andor too. In Andor, we see how the troopers were just everywhere trying to destroy whatever it was in the way that wasn't compliant with the Galactic Empire. And what's sad about, this whole purge of the Jedis is that the ones that survived had to, at some extent, go through the Galactic Empire just to feel safe and secure at some extent, And I don't think that's the correct way to do things. I don't think that's the way that we should have our things flowing with this at this point in time. There's many different reasons and ways why we could have had it a different way. We didn't have to eradicate the Jedis. In my experience, it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, for reals, it makes no sense whatsoever. Why would the Galactic Empire would want to destroy the Jedis? If you ask me, I would have, instead of destroying them, I would have tried to, manipulate them just the same way that the Chancellor manipulated Anakin into getting him to the dark side. I think that we could have done something similar with the various Jedis around the whole galaxy. But instead, we preferred to eradicate the Jedis, as if the Jedis were the problem. No. The Jedis were always the ones in trying to keep the balance, the peace. They were peacekeepers, And the Senate, the government, the Republic were the ones causing all the conundrums and mayhems and all the destruction, It's always the people in the power. It's been seen everywhere, even in the real world, we see that the people with power are the ones that screw us over. The Republic will never have the best interest of the people. No. Trust me, they won't. Not even the Galactic Empire. Even when Han Solo joined the Galactic Empire, he was, told that he was going to get many things that were going to be beneficial for him. And at the end of the day, what happened? Nothing. He decided to move on because that wasn't going to get him anywhere. Like, seriously, anywhere. So I still think that we should see it at this point. Think it this way. Think about it this way. Think about it this way. Think about it this way. If you want to be strong, if you want to be, how do I say this? If you want to be, have more people on your side to build a bigger empire, why would you eradicate the most strongest, most trained people in the whole galaxy, It makes no sense. I want more people with me, Hey, Star Wars Timeline, welcome to the show. Just so you know, in case you decide to talk eventually, my show is being from the space rebroadcasted to the radio station that I own. So yeah, I'm talking about the dark times of Star Wars, So at this point in time, what we're doing is simply just trying to get ourselves not away from what, it should have been the case, I've always thought about it that way, I've always thought that why did the Galactic Empire with Palpatine's, plans, why was the plans to eradicate the Jedi? The Jedis were never the problem. If you ask me, the Republic was the problem if he wanted to get someone out of the way. Hence why he got so much power once he became high with the Republic, and then he changed it into the Galactic Empire. I still think, and that's just a thing, that I've been pondering for a while now. I think that the way that things flew, the way that things happened, for me, were so, like, horrific, bad, crazy, in many shapes and forms, you know? Because, like I've been saying, why would you eradicate the Jedis if they're one of the strongest? You know, I know that some of the Jedis became Inquisitors, some people were, you know, switched to the dark side, whether as a bounty hunter or whatever it is that it is, you know? There's many shapes and forms why they should have not destroyed the Jedi. Makes no sense. At least in my opinion, it makes no damn sense that the Galactic Empire would want to destroy the Jedis instead of luring them. Some did actually go into the Galactic Empire, but not everyone. You know? Not everybody went into the dark side. You know, but I think it should have been a thing. Just saying. And the Bat Kid, hey, Lucas Legacy, welcome. I'm discussing here the dark times of Star Wars: The Dark Era, just for the fact that I just finished watching the Tales of the Empire shorts, and I think that those shorts are actually really, really good, if you ask me. You know, they're really good. And as a side note, I wanted to let you know that I just finished a book from Star Trek. I just finished a book. It was Q-in-Law. I finished Q-in-Law. Q-in-Law has been a really fun book to read. It took me an hour. Actually, it took me 2 days, but in reality, it was just an hour and 30 minutes to listen to the book. And it's a good start for me to get into the Star Trek. I was going to watch on HBO Max the film from the 1970 something on HBO Max, and I think that that could be another good start to flow myself into. I've seen already a bunch of the original show, so why not? So the thing is, that's gonna be my slight go in to the world of Star Trek. And I also wanted to mention that I'm going to be every now and then posting phrases in Klingon on my feed. That way I can get a bit of a practice. And at the same time, I can give a little bit of appreciation to the Star Trek world as I slowly slide it in. You know, some people have been telling me, why would you add the Star Trek now when you're a super mega Star Wars fan? And I'm like, cause I Galactic ChatWave Radio, you know, I'm Andrew Van Zark, and I talk through Galactic ChatWave Radio. Galactic means that anything galactic can be thrown in there. Hey, if I wanted to, eventually I could even add Battlestar Galactica if I wanted to. If I ever wanted to talk about another galactic show and franchise, if I ever felt like it. But, you know, Battlestar Galactica is one of those shows that I know about it because of that 70s show. Because one of the characters was heavily, like, into Battlestar Galactica. But I don't think that Battlestar Galactica would be a thing that I would watch to the point that I would want to talk about it, discuss it, and get into the lore of it. But I could watch it. I've seen clips here and there, and it seems like an interesting franchise to delve myself into. I like anything related to space when it comes to anime in that sense. One of my favorite animes is Robotech. Another one of my favorite animes is Gundam. I'm heavily into those, mechanical robots, mecha, specifically if they take place in space, if there's aliens involved and all that kind of stuff. And the other type of anime that I like, it's extreme horror, gore, fucked up kind of stuff. Things that fuck your psychic, and you're like, oh, what the fuck am I watching? This is too damn convoluted in so many shapes and forms. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I am trying to showcase here. My love and appreciation for any media that showcases the galaxy, the final frontier, the galaxy far, far away. Even the music that I compose, even the music that I showcase on the radio station is kind of galactic in many shapes and forms. So yeah, that's why I switched it many countless of times, my name, until I ended up in Galactic ChatWave Radio. At first I thought about it because of the Galactic Empire, but then I was like, hey, Galactic ChatWave Radio, anything can be galactic, you know? Heck, if I ever wanted to, I could have incorporate other stuff that are not that geeky, like, let's say, Alien. We could eventually add in Interstellar, which that film actually cracks my brain into a million pieces. But then again, we have Hans Zimmer there, and Hans Zimmer is like magnifique. And I think that Hans Zimmer should be appreciated, you know? And that's one of the reasons why I haven't seen the whole thing, but I kinda saw Interstellar just because of Hans Zimmer. Sometimes I get interested of a film or a show because of the composer. I was heavily into Andor just because of Nicholas Brittle. Hey, I'm a composer myself, you know, background music composer. So it's not inevitable. And I'm also a sound designer, but I don't really tend to check the sound designers of you know, them shows and TV and films and whatnot, because I think sound design is a really niche thing that should be always taken in consideration when it comes to producing something. So the Bad Kid, if you're gonna produce your scripts with keeping in mind what George Lucas tried to do for the sequel trilogy, keep in mind that having a great sound design other than a good soundtrack, it's a good thing. It's going to take your production to a new level, you know? Sure, you can have the greatest cameras, you can have the greatest edits and whatnot, but if your sound design and your music is not on point, you're not going to be there. For me, everything that happens in post-production is the most important thing. Like, as long as you have a good story and good actors, you'll be fine. You don't need to stress. You'll have to stress more on the post-production. That's when the magic happens. You know, that's where the magic actually happens. And that's why I focus so much on the post-production side of things, because anyone can record a good scene, but can you actually edit a good scene, keep it a good pace, make it match with the song that someone composed for the scene? You know, that's where the magic actually happens. You know when to add the effects and make the effects look natural, you know? And I think that's where you should, like, put all your efforts in, you know? Because, again, when I used to study radio, I saw so many mediocre people doing awesome scenes with just the camera. But then when they would edit it, like, there were some points in times like, you know what, that could have been edited out. You got to know the pacing. You got to take in consideration the pacing of the scene. And people don't think about that. People think that you should focus on having a good actor do a good scene and interpret your characters correctly, and then have a great cameraman. That's not even half the battle. that's just a fourth of it, you know? And I think that if you stick to the post-production side of things, you'll be having a great time. You'll end up seeing a masterpiece unfold within your fingertips, you know? Just a click of a button, and you'll be amazed what you can do. So, and in my opinion, that is why most companies that produce, whether it is audiobooks or films or TV shows, that's where they focus the most. Because the mentality that you need a good cameraman and great actors, for me, that only relies on, you know, cable TV, low budget comedy shows, you know, like those late night shows that incorporate a comedy skit, like the SNLs and all that kind of stuff. That's where I think you should focus more on having a great cameraman and great actors, because in those type of things, you barely have editing time. You barely have post production in it. None because you don't want to, but mostly because, you know, it's time constriction. You know, you got so little time to get something awesome And that is why when you see the SNL skits, like for example the one with Pedro Pascal, you see that it has minimal editing on purpose, and they put the camera angle in a specific way to eliminate having to post-produce so much, because usually SNL stuff, those kinds of skits, they have to be produced basically daily. It's technically like a YouTube channel. Gotta produce them videos daily, and that's why we gotta limit the post-production and just have good lighting, good camera, and good actors. That's about it. So, yeah. But anyways, going back to the topic of the show, I went into a whole rant there about post-production and stuff like that. Audiophile and post-production geek here. So, yeah. Anyways, the thing is that the dark times of Star Wars, for me, are so weird in so many ways, because some stuff, for me, make no sense whatsoever. Why would they want to eradicate the Jedis in that way that they did, when they could have just instead take over the Jedi Temple instead, get all those strong Jedis to the Chancellor's side, to the Galactic Empire's side, and from there remove the Republic. For me, the Republic is the worst. As I've discussed before here on my radio show with Lucas Legacy here, the Bat Kid. The government never has your back. Never does. The government will never have the good side of you. They're always there to benefit themselves. And we're not going to see that any other way. The government will always be like that, Always. Always. And that's why I think they should have just eradicated the Republic and move on and grab the Jedi Temple and make it part of the Galactic Empire. And that way, you wouldn't have just had a few Inquisitors. You probably would have had a plethora of Inquisitors, Because if Anakin fell to the dark side as he did, by just being, manipulated by the Chancellor, why couldn't, the rest be manipulated? Obi-Wan would have been one that was completely difficult to do so. And maybe Mace Windu would have been another hassle. To eliminate those two. Pups. And just get the rest. I'm pretty sure we could have gone Plo Koon. That guy could have been easily taken. And Yoda's could have been another one that was going to have a little hectic, But they could have done another Yaddle thing. Just destroy the Yoda there and do what you gotta do. Yoda was pretty damn old by that point in time, so we probably could have had another Yaddle kind of incident. So I don't think the Galactic Empire did good, because the Galactic Empire just failed in so many shapes and forms to give us what we needed. Like, they offered a lot of things to Han Solo when he joined, but yet he didn't get nothing. He get nothing. He lost. He got nothing. So that's why he left. Like, I'm wasting my time here. Fuck off. And it's quite the silliness. It's quite silly. It's like how I always discuss with my own mom, with my mother, that why would the devil want to kill people and make them be possessed and destroy their own bodies and stuff, when instead they could just lure them to be part of themselves, and then their army's bigger, Some stuff just makes no sense. Why wouldn't you be stronger if you had more people on your side instead of destroying everyone that's around them? I know the Jedis could have been a threat to the Galactic Empire in many shapes and forms, but come on. Let's be honest here. Let's be serious here for a second. Let's be real here for a second. Wouldn't it have been great to have more people on your side? Just saying. And that is why I've always had a hard time grasping the dark times of Star Wars. The dark times, there's a lot of flaws in the whole ways that everything built up to be, And And that is why I'm always a true fan, a diehard fan of the Rebellion era. That's my best favorite era of Star Wars, the Rebellion era. I'm always going to be all in with the Rebellion era. And that is just my favorite era. Questioning the eras of Star Wars is like questioning your own identity and your own existence. You'll never get the answer. But, you know, there's many reasons why we should, you know, analyze each era of Star Wars and for the most part see their flaws, the flaws in each era. And there's a lot of flaws in every era. A lot of flaws that could be perfectly discussed in so many shapes and forms that I could honestly be the whole night opening the Wikipedia, grabbing the book that my girlfriend got me, just discussing every single era. Because I have a book with the entire timeline of Star Wars, specifically, you know, the mainline story, you know, the like the Skywalker saga. But we still have other stuff around it, because we can't take out the Rebels and Clone Wars being like the best of the animation. Even though I like more the way and the greediness of the Bad Batch, just saying. And a lot of people attribute the Clone Wars to be the best era of Star Wars. And I can see why. I can see why the Clone Wars would be like the best era of Star Wars. It's where the most information comes in. Most of the things we love from Star Wars came from the Clone Wars, was built upon the Clone Wars. You know, the Mandalorian, some of the stuff in the Mandalorian are tracing back to the Clone Wars era, like the Children of the Watch and all that. That trace back to the Clone Wars, you know? But I'm still in for the Rebellion era. I'm all in. I'm all in for that, you know? So the thing is, as I was saying, the Rebellion era for me is like the best point in time of Star Wars. Hands down. And I think that we can have a great time with that, you know. We can all agree that the original trilogy is the best point in time of the, you know, of Star Wars. And I don't know if anyone else has a different opinion of what's the best era for them of Star Wars. I think that it's a whole discussion to be had countless of times, you know. And yeah, I think that Tales of the Empire and all these like Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire and all that, and those shorts have given us so much things to, you know, acknowledge. You know, seeing the rise of Morgan Elsbeth actually make me see things in a different way. I actually sympathized with Morgan Elsbeth. To be honest, I actually did sympathize. I was like, hey, probably, if we see it in a way, probably it makes sense why she became so evil. You know, they destroyed her whole village. Then when she goes back into being part of the other tribe, sure, she got accepted, but then things happened, the same shit. You know, they got raided again and things went conundrum. You all went questionable, illogical, and destruction, and whatever you want to call it, you know. And if we see it that way, you know, you can sympathize with Morgan Elsbeth, you know. In a way, I did think that the Barry Zoffy's episodes were way better, are the ones that I actually enjoyed the most. But I have more connection with Morgan Elsbeth because I've followed her trajectory for longer than Barry Zoffy's. And I understood the story a bit better, and I could actually connect things quicker. I did like that at some point we saw Thrawn. Thrawn is one of my favorite villains at this point in time. Because I never read the Heart of the Empire book completely. The first time I found out about it a long time ago, way before Disney acquired Star Wars. I saw the book. I probably found it on YouTube, some obscure recording of it, right? And I was getting into understanding who there's a blue guy. What's this blue guy? Oh, Thrawn. Oh, nice. And that's about it. I left it there. I didn't delve into it deeper anymore. And it wasn't until Disney acquired it I was like, so that's the blue guy from the book I saw a million years ago. And I was surprised, and I was actually intrigued that Thrawn was in Tales of the Empire. I was actually happy that I was like excited. And I'm still confused in my own head of which were my favorite episodes, because as much as I understand more Morgan Elsbeth and I've been following her trajectory for longer, I think that we can say that the Barry Soffies episodes were way better, in my opinion. So hey, Keegan, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Welcome. Wait, why did I say welcome? I'm the guest.
Exactly, you're the guest here. But anyway, hey, everybody's important here. Everyone's important. I'm Amanda Van Zark, and this is your safe space to discuss Star Wars, music, and other geeky topics, and eventually we'll add into the show some Star Trek.
Ooh, okay, so you currently got the show running, all right.
Yeah.
This would probably make my second podcast I've ever been a guest on, ever.
Yep.
Technically, because I was on a Talking Tremors podcast, like, Jesus Christ, I don't know how many, I think it was like a couple of years ago. I think it was about 2022, the last podcast I was on, or actually, sometime last year, because I watched the first two Tremors movies, and then I did a space on here, just wanting to talk about it because I was in that kind of mood. Whenever I watch something and I'm currently in the zone, like that's the thing I'm kind of like quote unquote obsessed with, to kind of put it that way. I'll go on Twitter, start a space, or at least I used to. I'll go on Twitter, start a space, basically saying talking insert movie name here or show name here, and I called it Talking Tremors, and not knowing there was a podcast called Talking Tremors. So this guy Levi, who does the podcast, like popped up in my space, and I didn't realize he was doing his podcast. And I just kept running my mouth the entire time. It wasn't until probably like an hour or so in until he was like, "Oh, by the way, you're on my podcast." I was like, "Ah, shit." I was like, because I kept cutting, because whenever I get into a conversation, I never shut up until I just completely get everything out. It's kind of a word. I kind of have to warn everybody that every time I meet a person or talk to somebody I've never met before or talked before, like even if it's acquaintances of other people I know, like Dan, for example. But I will I'll tend to over talk people, especially if I'm really into what I'm talking about, and I won't think about. Yeah, I have trouble reading the room, essentially, knowing like, oh wait, there's someone else who wants to talk and all that. Like, it's a problem I've been trying to work on. So that's why I'm just like, okay, now that I know full well that I'm in a podcast, I'm gonna not talk over people as much.
It's not just a podcast; it's a radio station.
Oh, radio station. Well, even better.
You're being broadcast to the whole world, and they listen to me through Germany, UK, Canada. And sometimes
UK, one of my second favorite countries in the world.
Yeah, I got into UK stuff because
go ahead.
I got into the UK stuff really little with the Beatles and stuff like that.
Everybody, probably a lot of people's like exposure to Britain, like it's probably the first thing. Like my exposure to Britain was actually to the UK was actually a lot different. It wasn't the Beatles. It was actually Harry Potter. That's what kind of exposed me to it. Along with mainly it was like Harry Potter and Sweeney Todd. Those are the two biggest things that exposed me to that country and made me go, okay, I actually like these guys. These people know how to come up with good stuff because I'm a movie guy first and foremost, once and always. My favorite thing. So basically, probably like Sweeney Todd probably has to be, apart from like Harry Potter, Sweeney Todd has to be like my most favorite thing to come out of Britain. I mean, but then you got people like David Bowie, which I freaking love. Queen, I friggin' love. Like they got like my favorite little like crossover song that Bowie has done with anybody was actually Under Pressure, where you got David Bowie singing with Queen. Like, how much more awesome can you get? Like how much more awesome can you get at that point? Like two of the best like British like two of the best like British musicians, if you will, like probably one, like the best British band since the fucking Beatles, like with Queen, and then probably one of the best like British pop singers. Like I'm probably gonna say like experimental pop, because he would do all these kind of like, especially back in the day, like Bowie would do a lot of these weird like experimental type of songs, like probably one of my favorites, and it's actually a cover of his version of it that I like the most, but it's still technically a Bowie song, so I can kind of cheat and say it's probably one of my favorite songs of his is Lazarus. The reason why I say I prefer the cover, because it's sung by Michael C. Hall from Dexter, and it just kind of threw me off. I was like, wait a minute, this man can sing!
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I loved about Michael C. Hall. See, I love it when actors have this hidden talent that nobody knows about until like you just randomly stumble across a song they were singing, like whether it be an official release or in the show, in a movie, whatever.
Like
Johnny Depp threw me for friggin' loop. With Sweeney Todd, I was like, holy crap! I didn't know this guy could sing. I knew he could act, but I didn't know he could sing.
Just like Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves actually plays bass on a metal band or grunge band.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Like, I mean, Michael Cera is a damn good bass player. Like, the man, like you get a little bit of that in Scott Pilgrim, but he had to dumb it down to make Brandon Routh's character. I forget what his name was. Like, but it's the character Todd, but I forget what his last name is. But the character that was supposed to be dating Brie Larson's character, Envy Adams. Well, the vegan in Scott Pilgrim, like Michael Cera had to dumb down his skill so much to make Brandon Routh look more skilled, like to make the vegan look better, like, which is kind of a thing they tend to do sometimes when the main character of a movie is supposed to have a certain skill but not be great at it, and then you have another character who's like a freaking prodigy at it, like is just like naturally skilled with it. And the actor playing the guy that's got to dumb it down, the actor that has to dumb it down, is actually better than the other actor. It's always kind of funny when you think about that. It's like, that's beyond hilarious. But yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And that happened to me a few years ago when I found out that Eddie Murphy actually sings. Yeah,
like probably I heard, like, it really shouldn't have surprised me that much, because he did sing in Shrek, like, a lot. But there's a difference between singing as a hobby, which is what Donkey does, like, and in the Shrek movies, and actually professionally doing it. Like,
exactly. My dad told me that his songs were actually good on the
professionally.
Yeah. My dad told me that the one song from Eddie Murphy actually got really famous to the point that DJs would like play it on the disco.
Yeah, party all the time.
Exactly.
Probably I heard that song. It takes a good like minute before he starts singing, because it's like a minute. It's like probably like a good like 40, 50, maybe 60 seconds before any actual lyric starts. I'm like, okay, that's probably my one negative about the song, is that it takes too long for it to really start.
Yeah, but most DJs by that point in time, with those 40 seconds, they would improvise, their mixing and whatnot.
Yeah, and also just fun fact about Party All the Time, Rick James actually worked with Murphy on the song and actually kind of featured on it, even though he's not credited as a featured singer, because he would just like kind of throw in a couple things around the end. He gets his own little portion at the end of the song, but you occasionally hear him during the chorus too. But most of the time, I guess he's working on the actual music, which I thought was kind of awesome. I was like, oh shit, I did not know that he worked with Rick fucking James of all people. And not only that, he sung with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was on a track of his called "What's Up With You," and Murphy looked like kind of old school hippie in that music video. So weird. Probably the weirdest song, probably the weirdest music video I've ever seen, because it's with Michael Jackson in it. Like, it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, that was literally my main thought, just thinking the whole thing. It's like, what the fuck is going on? That this entire video.
Mm-hmm. Some music videos just, drive you nuts, and they mind blown you to a degree that you don't understand.
It's a mind fuck. Yeah, it's essentially just a giant ass mind fuck.
Just like some Japanese rock bands that they do such weird music videos. Like, for example, During Gray does such weird music videos to the point that you don't even understand what you're watching. Am I watching a music video, or am I looking at geishas being demonic? I don't really understand what I'm looking at.
I mean, yeah, it's just like, when you think about it, it's just like, what the fuck? And also Japan, like, no disrespect to that place, like, or the people or their culture, but there's a lot of their movies and a lot of their, like, just commercials, mainly their commercials are just fucking weird. Like, they are, like, surreal as shit. I think the weirdest Japanese commercials I've ever seen were the old, like, late 90s, early 2000s Sapporo beer commercials. It's like, what the fuck? Because you can tell it was, like, done after The Matrix, because they do a lot of the bullet time stuff. They would do a lot of the slow-mo bullet time stuff. And it's just like, what the fuck am I watching? Yeah, it takes, like, even a lot of Japanese horror films, like, it's like, when it comes to horror, the Japanese are very fucking creative when it comes to, like, and a lot of their horror movies are based on urban legends.
Oh, like, for sure.
You would think that America would do, because we got our fair share of urban legends. You would think there'd be more horror movies based on it, but no. Like, it's Japan that has the most horror movies based on urban legends, because because obviously you had, like, Carved Slipmouth Woman, aka Kuchisaki Onna. Hell, there's two of them, but I think the second one's not even fucking related to the first one. It's just in name only. Like, but you got like a Kuchisaki Onna film. You got a Teke Teke film, which I watched, and it was kind of like, what the fuck? Like, I started watching it. I think the biggest problem is, and this is more just a personal preference, is the subtitling. Like, sometimes it works for me. It's like Pan's Labyrinth, like by Guillermo del Toro. The reason why I can sit through the subtitles is because the story is just is so interesting, and just it's visually interesting and all that, and the acting's really good. With a lot of those Japanese movies, especially like the Godzilla stuff, it depends on the movie for me, but I usually prefer English dubbing, or at least the option. Like, at least have the option to have an English track. That way, for people who just prefer dubbing, like me for the most part, we can have a version we can have an English language version, like, where you can watch the movie for the story as opposed to just learning a new, like, trying to decipher what they're saying. I mean, because I'm one of those people, I'm just lazy, and I prefer to watch a film as opposed to read it. Because if I want to read it, if I want to read, I'll grab a friggin' book. Like, yeah, I'm just one of those people. I'm like, I like to watch movies and, like, not have to worry about reading subtitles. Even though I have subtitles, even though I would come up as a huge ass hypocrite because I always put subtitles on, but that's usually as set dressing. That's more like window dressing. But it's the reason why I use subtitles is because there's sometimes the subtitles will actually tell you, like specifically like a certain song that plays in the background, or someone says something really quiet and you don't want to have to rewind the movie over and over and really listen even closer to figure out what the hell they said, or if somebody says something real fast and you can't make it out the first time, the subtitles can help you out there. But yeah, I just like, it's more like practicality reasons for me. It's not because I'm hearing impaired at all. It's just because I like to know what's going on in the background, and just like little auditory, like, Easter eggs, if you will.
I actually like subtitles for the reason that
I gotta go. My buddy's calling me.
So I like subtitles, as the guy was saying here. So he just left, and I can totally say that the reason why I like subtitles is because, subtitles are good when you can hear the film. And I used to study a lot with the TV with the volume really low so I can concentrate on my studies, but I actually have the TV running so that sometimes I could look at it and like read the subtitles and kind of understand what's happening, other than just visually trying to understand. And yeah, not just for the Japanese stuff, or when I watch a film in a different language, you know. In my case, I don't give a crap if it's dubbed or not. For the most part, if I'm learning the language, then sure. I'd like to at least try not to have the subtitles all the time and try to see if I can get a grasp of it. But for the most part, I don't really care. At some point in my life, I was like, no, it has to be the original language all the time. But recently, I'm like, I don't care. If you want to put it in Spanish and it's originally in English, who gives a crap? If it's originally in Japanese, you want to put it in English, who gives a crap? If it's originally in fucking Klingon or some shit like that and you want to just keep it English, by all means, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a crap. Honestly, I don't give a flying crap for the most part. So, yeah, that's the thing, you know, and that's one of the awesome stuff why we get ourselves running with subtitles. For the most part, they're just there to help you, to enhance the watching. And another reason why I like subtitles is because in my place, where I live, in the island that I live, Puerto Rico, not everything gets dubbed to Spanish. So what they did was they would give us subtitles, sometimes weirdly subtitles, because sometimes they were Mexican translated or European Spanish translated, and most of us do not understand those two Spanish. In some extent, because they use them kilograms instead of them pounds, and I'm like, I don't know how much 95 kilograms are in pounds, and I'm not gonna be doing some math at this point in time. No, I ain't doing no math. But as I grew older, I was like, you know, I'll give a try to the other styles of stuff, so I can, you know, get myself attuned to any situation, you know. That's how I dealt with things recently. So yeah. But anyways, we were discussing the dark times of the dark time era of Star Wars. Like I said, this is your safe space for Star Wars music and other geeky topics, and I am Andrew Van Zark, and I'll sign out. And stay tuned for those Star Trek episodes that I'll be doing every now and then. I'll probably do them like Sunday afternoons. Sunday afternoons could be my Star Trek time. They're not going to be all the time. They're going to be random. And I'm not really sure if I should just simply add the Star Trek stuff to this show that I already do. Or since my podcast hosting website lets me have various shows per account, why not have a new Star Trek themed podcast, you know? I don't know, it could be a thing. I don't know. But anyways, I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you all listening to the show. I appreciate you all having a great time. And yeah, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being here. And I'm Andrew Van Zark, and I am signing out. Catch you on the flip side. Adios, amigos. May the force be with you, and live long and prosper. I know that I'm doing a heresy right now, but who gives a crap? Bye!
Unite for the sound revolution in Galactic ChatWave Radio. Support Anna Razark's original tunes, the polls of our online radio station, and keep the news blazing like Beskar.
Click, donate, and hit that PayPal button and join the watch. Keep the tunes alive. This is the way.